Providence plus 7.5 against Kansas. Total in this one, 141.5.
Sometimes it's good to be bad. And I think that's what we've seen from Providence, that the word got out and how overrated Providence was. To be fair, the word was out how overrated Wisconsin was.
Sure.
And they're long gone in this tournament. But Providence has consistently gotten zero respect. They're getting zero respect here. And I tell you what, KU got a dream draw. Easy peasy into the Sweet 16. Got to beat up on a 16. And then they get to beat up on Creighton, missing their two best players.
Yep.
But they don't beat up on Creighton. It's a tough game, and they only win by 7. This Providence squad's way better than that Creighton team that I think you mentioned is an NIT team without their players. Providence is not an NIT team. Providence is like the 30th best team in the country. 7.5 looks attractive to me.
Yeah, I like Providence plus 7.5. And this is the role where they've kind of thrived all season. As an underdog this year, Providence 8-1 against the spread. That's pretty impressive in its own right. They're also 7-2 straight up. That's unbelievable. Their only ATS loss this year as an underdog came against Villanova, where they were 4-point underdogs, lost by 5.
That game was tied with like a minute and a half to go.
Yep. They were right there in it.
And, another game, and this seems similar to me, is they're catching like 10 in that second game against Nova regular season.
Lost by 2.
They hung in there very nicely, yes.
Yeah, and they've got straight-up wins over Wisconsin, Texas Tech, UConn. It's not like they haven't played anybody. They've gone out and they've played good teams. They're good. And I think the fact that they're one of the most experienced teams in the country, Ken Pom has them 6th in experience. They're all juniors and seniors. They play one sophomore in rotation. I think they just kind of have figured out what it takes to win close games and to win big games. I think there is something to that. And you mentioned Kansas looked terrible against a Creighton team that was without their point guard, Nimhard, and without their best offensive/defensive player in Ryan Kalkbrenner. That was a 1-point game with just over a minute to go. Kansas looked miserable against 4 guys from Creighton. It's like 4.5 guys from Creighton.
Is it me or does every Kansas post game when they look at the coach and the players, the coach is consoling his players after they win. It's like, it's okay, we advance.
Yeah, we'd survive in advance.
We know we stunk it up, but hey, we got the W. It's almost like it's like Apollo Creed in Rocky II, where he's talking to his entourage, and he's like, "Do you think I won the fight?" And there's a long pause, and his head guy says, "You got the decision. You advanced.
There you go.
You got the decision."
And I think Providence, the line in the first round was disrespectful to them, being a 2-point favorite against a Summit League team.
Money comes on Providence, closes 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Richmond, who shouldn't be a tournament team. Had they not won the Atlantic 10, they wouldn't have been a tournament team. Maybe wouldn't have been an NIT team. Mm-hmm. And they blow them out of the water. Providence took them took a behind the woodshed, Fez. So now 7.5 here. I just feel like at some point we have to start giving Providence some kind of respect.
I agree.
So I like Providence here in this spot. I think that number is way too high. Kansas offense, still elite. They're going to be good. They're always going to be good, which makes me lean to the over. I think Kansas's defense is vulnerable, especially based on that performance against Creighton, a bad offensive team to begin with. And then without their 2 best offensive players, woof. So Providence and the over are the ways I'm looking in that game.